What is going on, guys? Okay, today it's gonna be just me because Marlon is sick and in bed. I think he's been in bed all day, actually, now that I think about it. So that's a little bit sad. But let me make sure we can go live on Instagram too. Damn, I suck at going live properly. Hmm. Oh, that's right. There we go. Let's do this. Click link in bio. Okay. Guys, how y'all doing? If you guys are catching this live, awesome. If you're catching it late, awesome, even. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single week. We are on week 120. Wow, 120 of Think Big. So we are grinding away like always, and that's how we do it. I want to spend the rest of today and today's call specifically focused on people's businesses and answering their very in-depth questions, whatever they have. So I think what I'm going to do is this because I actually had some really great. I went live in a community mentorship earlier today and got to present about some really niche marketing and niche targeting to be able to get a lot of deals and not have to spend any money to do it. So the cool thing is after getting to do that today, we really saw how kind of like people's minds were blown when you start showing them how to get into a position where they're the first human being to ever talk to a seller. And when you can guarantee that, you have to spend way less on marketing, or you get to spend way less on marketing and then get a much higher ROI on the back end of it. And the one thing that I really understood today, and the reason why we're doing a Q&A today and not like a normal kind of presentation or just me and Marlon talking, is one, Marlon is sick, but two, after I went live in that community, I really, really got to see, and that's a high level community. I think the people that are spending, I think everyone in there spent minimum like 10 to 15,000. There were some people in there who spent 25 grand to be in that room. And one thing that was kind of a shocker to me was how when I present and I show people how to go deeper into marketing, deeper into prospecting, and therefore, establish a higher ROI through like effectively optimizing the businesses. What was really kind of interesting to me was seeing how surprised everyone was that this was even possible. And the concern that like I walked away from that training with was, if you guys are spending 25 grand to be in this mentorship, like 10 to 25 grand, I think there's somewhere around there in that group. If you're spending 10 to 25,000 hours to be in a mentorship, and most of these people are spending thousands and thousands a month on marketing, how much money are you like flushing down the drain because you are just doing suboptimal things? You are not targeting sellers the right way, or you're more importantly doing everything that everyone else is doing. And I'm a fundamental believer in this, and this is, in my opinion, correlates to almost all forms of marketing in business and even in a sales process too. This converts into your marketing and in sales. And fundamentally, it's that if you were doing the same thing as everyone else at the exact same time, you have no competitive advantage. And when you have no competitive advantage, the only way to win the game, or quote unquote win the game, is to outspend everybody else. And then it becomes a war of attrition. And I don't think anyone really has the data on this, because no one knows exactly how many wholesalers are in the world right now or in the industry, just because there's no central database for it. I think it's probably going to be at least a few 100,000, like anywhere. I think maybe like 300,000 wholesalers in the country. And the problem with that is, and no one has the data like factually to prove this. I think the only one that comes close would maybe be Robert Wensley of InvestorLift. And I think he's tracked that like 96% of wholesalers go out of business in their first year. And it's not because they're not consistent. And it's not because they're not great people who have work ethic. Let's put all those to the side and let's assume they have the best work ethic. Let's assume they're consistent. They show up. They want it. All the stuff aside, I think Rob Wensley was able to prove, at least through his platform, that 96% of the fallout in the first year has nothing. It's nothing less than too much overhead. And when it's too much overhead, it's because people are spending tons and tons of money month over month over month. And here's the key. and they're doing all the same stuff that 50,000 other wholesalers who are in their markets competing with them are doing. And when you do that, you have no competitive advantage. Then you're stuck in a war of attrition. And then it becomes who's the guy who can just keep spending the most money. And if you're new, uh, dude, the problem, Sean, is that last time I posted my link for the Only Sams. The unfortunate reality of that was that I made a lot of money, but I looked at my customer base and then it was all men. And so that was a little bit concerning for me at the time. No judgment. I'm just kidding. But I think the big thing is if you are going to spend, you have to spend effectively. And we're at this kind of point in the industry where in all industries that have marketing, if you're marketing for customers, you're going to get, there's more regulations coming out, like the one-to-one consent rule for like digital inbound leads. It kind of got postponed. It kind of got pushed back. They didn't get eradicated. It's still, they're not out of the woods yet. So we'll see how that keeps progressing. But what's happening across marketing is the cost per lead is only going to go up. Your cost per marketing only goes up over time. There's no way around it. The only way it goes, if it goes down smaller, is you only have two options. Number one is that your competition pool dies out. And if your competition pool dies out, the issue is I still don't even think your cost per lead would drop, because if you're using a platform, like let's say you're running ads on Facebook for your business, whether it's wholesale or lending, or you have a service-based business and you're just marketing to general consumers, what's going to end up happening is this: if that you don't have a ton of competition, cool, but then Facebook allows you to monopolize your niche. But what will happen is theoretically, I'm assuming based on the law of supply and demand, they control the supply. Right? They control the supply, and they may charge you extra for having a monopoly. So even in that instance, when your competition goes down, if you are arbitraging off someone else's real estate effectively, you are still subject to what they want to do. And if theoretically, if there's less players in the game, then I'm the one who controls the entire inventory, I'm just going to jack up the price of the inventory. And so it's like, one, yes. Is there a realm where cost per lead goes down when your competition goes away? Yes. In my theory, though, the better way, there is another way for your cost per lead to go down. It is actually going and doing everything that your competition isn't doing. And when you look at everyone in your marketplace that is competing with you, whether it's for sellers or for if you're a lender and you're trying to compete for people on transactional loans or hard money loans or whatever it is, or if you have a service-based business and you have a pool cleaning company and you've got 25 other pool cleaning companies in your ecosystem, I think the most important thing that you can do is understand exactly what they're doing, understand exactly where their fallouts are, and focus on that. And that becomes your competitive advantage. And so I think over the next 2 years, what's going to happen is the dropout. And guys, real estate is getting hammered. Wholesale is getting hammered from a legislative standpoint, it's getting banned in so many states, or it's being regulated in so many states. Marketing is being destroyed in terms of, not destroyed, but it is being regulated and made harder and more expensive. And so it's becoming more and more expensive and more difficult. Like the barrier to entry to becoming a successful wholesaler is just increasing. It's just increasing across the board. And I think that 96% fallout rate that Rob Wensley's been tracking for the last couple of years, I think it's only going to go up. But here's the key. I think the people that fall out in that 96, 97, 98, 99% fallout rate, I'm not too heartbroken about that, because I think the people who will crush and the people who will monopolize are the ones who understand optimization through and through. And the ones who understand optimization, I think they're the ones who get to spend less money for the customer, for the client, for the seller, and they get to have a higher ROI basis. And so it's funny. I've got a guy, I got a guy named Tony. He's a fantastic dude. He and I chat via DMs quite a bit. He's in my DMs on Instagram, and he's basically trying to optimize his business. So I pushed him to, he wanted some better targeting for his business, for his wholesale business. And then I'm like, dude, trust me, go here, go talk to these people, go talk to this company. He did it. And here's the thing. He spent $6,400. Okay. And that's like his total spend for the year with this provider for a lot of stuff. In that $6,400, here's the cool thing. He got 85 leads today. Okay. About 5 pickups. He just started. It's like day one for him. And he already got a deal. It's a land deal. And if you guys don't know land deals are the easiest deals ever, because it's freaking dirt. Like you don't comp land. Your comp land is like price per acre, and it's very easy to do. And he's basically, I think, going to be making $15,000 to $16,000 minimum. Yeah, okay. He's estimating a 10 to 16,000 profit on that deal. It's day one. Spent $6,500, which gives him coverage for the entire year. And on day one, he's already got a $16,000 deal. And the funny thing is this: I can almost veritably guarantee he was one of the first ones to talk to that homeowner or that seller. It's land, so I guess it's not a homeowner. And the reality across the board, no matter what, is if you need to zig when people zag. And that is it. That is it. You need to zig when people zag. You need to do different things, because trust me. And like, okay, Tim Hughes in the chat right now. Tim Hughes is a phenomenal example for this. He's got a training, I think on the 26th or 27th. 26th or 27th. Tim Hughes, I think right now, in a position where he is constantly the first one to talk to a seller. And when you're the first one to talk to a seller, the cool thing about that is you get to control the narrative of what that transaction is going to look like. When you're the first one to talk to the seller, competition doesn't freaking matter. Okay. Okay. On the 26th. So guys, Tim is a good friend of mine, but also on top of that, Tim is doing some very ninja things with his real estate wholesale business. So if you're a wholesaler and you want to go deeper on exactly what it takes to be the first one to talk to a seller, exactly what that looks like from a targeting standpoint, from a sales standpoint, exactly to solve those problems, hit up Tim on Instagram. Because here's the thing: I will probably not do a training like that, me personally, because I love you guys, but man, some of you guys are going to take exactly what I'll tell you to do, and you'll go compete with me in my own markets, and like we stop getting deals. Tim's a lot nicer than I am. So yeah, but let's do this, because I want to get into some Q&A. Do me a favor, guys. I literally want to spend all day today just answering questions. That's it. I don't want to just talk about random theory bullshit. I want to answer questions that are specific to your businesses, whether that's wholesale lending, buying assets, whatever it is. That's all I want to focus on. And do me a favor, DM Marlon. Guys, get into Marlon's DMs, and he's sick. Like, he's been passing out every 5 minutes today. Okay, so first question, and if you guys do have Tim, you're late to the party, bro. If you guys do have questions, please just drop them in the chat, and I am just going to go through questions all day today. And I've got a handful of questions that I wanted to hit on that I couldn't get to during my presentation in a mentorship earlier today, because there were some great questions that I just ran out of time on, and I think those are going to be great. So I'll go through those too, because I have some of them written down here. Who do you know that can educate me on wholesale self-storage? Okay, so wholesale self-storage, I love self-storage. I think self-storage personally right now, it is the asset class that I'm the most excited about. It is the only thing I want to buy. All of 2025, I am not buying any single family homes. I just don't want to. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. Personally, this is personally, okay? And when it comes down to owning property, I think you buy real estate for a handful of reasons. First and foremost, you know, you've got, I don't want to say first and foremost, let's just pretend there's no order of hierarchy here. You buy real estate because you have appreciation. Then you have tax depreciation for, you know, your tax benefits. So if you're a high income earner, you can depreciate some of your income and not have to lose all of your money to the IRS. I'm telling you guys right now, like, the IRS is just horrible to me right now. And so, like, this is a sticking point for me and for a lot of bigger guys who make a lot more money than me. This is why a lot of the big guys, they play in commercial real estate, not single family. But you buy real estate for cash flow. You buy it for depreciation. You buy it for appreciation because the value of it goes up. You buy it because it's a hedge against a shifting economic, a shifting economy in general. Like, real estate overall is a very stable asset class. And here's the thing, though. If you look at multiple asset class types in real estate, you've got single family, you've got small multifamily, you've got regular multifamily, you've got self-storage, you've got commercial, industrial, things like warehouses, you've got land. And here's a cool thing: all of them have a different level of pro and con to them. So when you compare a single family to self-storage, one of the biggest pros of single family is there's like 1 billion of them. I have no idea how many homes there are in the country, but there's tons. There's tons and tons and tons of homes. And so versus storage facilities, there's a lot, but there's not, it's like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the inventory that's actually out there in the country is so much smaller than single family homes. So in that regard, single family if you're a newer person starting out and you want to try to have something that's a little bit more bite-sized and approachable, especially from a wholesale standpoint, because this question is about wholesaling self-storage. Um, Single family is going to be easier. It is going to be easier. Here's the nuance behind this. No one's going to tell you this online because people are always just like trying to sell a course online. And so no one will openly tell you this distinction. And as someone who's doing both, I will tell you right now that single family real estate wholesale specifically is easier than storage in theory, but it is harder than storage in terms of competition because there is so much more competition from a single family standpoint. Everyone and their mom's a freaking single family wholesaler. The world of multifamily or self-storage or industrial wholesalers, people who live and breathe in wholesaling those asset classes, here's the nuance. It's a much smaller pool of people, but here's the key. It is a much higher pedigree of operator. And so the people who play that game are usually going to be a lot more advanced. That's the key, because underwriting single family more or less is pretty easy. It pretty much is an easy game. It's like you find a comp that's a house that looks the same. It's not too far away. It didn't sell too far long ago, and it's like a comparable build, and it's pretty easy to do that. But underwriting a self-storage facility, I know this because I've underwritten over 100 self-storage facilities in the last 3-4 weeks now, because I'm just focusing on buying self-storage right now. It's that the problem with, from a wholesale perspective is, one, it's generating the leads. There's not a million of them. I don't know how many there are, but there's not millions and millions and millions of storage facilities out there. But it takes time to get in front of the seller. It takes a tremendous level of time to actually underwrite a facility. There's so much data input that goes into it. I'll give you guys, here's a general process. If you were to send me a deal from a wholesale perspective of a single family, home in Las Vegas, Nevada, more or less with napkin math, I can effectively tell you if this is going to be a good deal, if you're going to make a 10, 15, 20K rip on it on an assignment fee based on just really rough numbers. And it's easy to do that. And because the value of single family homes and how you make your money is directly related to an equity standpoint or a property valuation standpoint. Because with single family, your wholesale fee, your flip profit, all of this is predicated on what? The end price that the property will sell for on market. With storage, it's different, because the value of a storage facility and all commercial real estate and even multifamily is not in the value of the structure. It's actually in the value associated with the net operating income that the facility brings in. So with storage, it's weird because it's not necessarily real. It is real estate, but it doesn't, when you're underwriting it and you're working it, you're not necessarily underwriting real estate. You're almost underwriting a small business. And that's really what storage is. And so if you look at self-storage facilities, it's really interesting. They have marketing, they have websites, they run billboards, they run ads, and they're basically competing with other self-storage facilities for the rental rates because they're competing for the exact same customer pool. With single family, you just put up a Zillow listing and someone's going to, rent your house in 5 seconds because people need places to live. But in storage, it's a little bit of a different story, because people are actively competing and price gouging and price undercutting each other. And it really is a game, just like when a laundromat competes with another laundromat across the road. Storage is the exact same way. And so when you underwrite the deal, it takes quite a bit longer because you're working off financials that are given to you. And so when we look at self-storage facilities, the interesting thing is that lead comes in, we talk with the seller, and this is like an extended conversation, several conversations. And eventually at some point, we're going to say, we need you to give us financials. And the financials are going to be their trailing 12 months, their rent rolls, their unit mix. And what is a unit mix? A unit mix is basically, if you have 300 units, 300 little metal boxes, right, that you rent out, what is the size, right? The length and the width of each, how much are you renting them out for? And here's the thing, how much they rent out for, let's say $50 a month. Cool. But it's is that what we call market rent or street rate? And the street rate is basically what is the effective high market rent for it? And it's it may be 85. So cool. You have 300 units. Out of the 300 units, 100 of them are 5x5, 5x5 little storage boxes or pods. And then you've got another 100 or, 10x10s, another 100 or 20x20s. And here's the cool thing: when you underwrite that, right, it's not like single family where you can just look at Zillow and just, or PropStream or Batch Leads or whatever, and or Privy, and just find quick comps for it. With storage, you literally have to go and look on a almost on a per pod basis to see how much they're renting them out for, what is the differential between what they're renting out for versus what market or street rate is, and then how many are going to be vacant, what is the vacancy loss associated with that. And then you basically have to find out, cool, what are the other amenities that they're not focusing on? Is there value add potential with adding more units or sprucing up the units or boosting rent or adding like like a mandatory insurance policy that all tenants have to get through you, and it can have you add an extra $20 a month on top of your rent rate. All of these things will correlate to increasing the bottom line of a commercial asset, which is the NOI. And then your valuation truly is going to be based on that. And so I'm going to bring this back to wholesaling. All of this to show, I know that just went on a very long tangent here, but all this to show is that people think storage is going to be easier to wholesale because not as many people do it. I would say it is easier to find the leads than single family real estate, because there's probably less competitors. I think it's easier to get on the phone with self-storage facility owners than it is like single family people. But I think that's the easy part. The hard part is the underwriting and the nuance and the contracting and the financing. It also takes a lot of time. Like, that's the reality of storage. Like, it can take us 2-3 weeks just to be able to get a seller to give us rent rolls. And so once you do all of that, then you can go and underwrite the facility and then add on your fee. But the cool thing with storage is this: it's like on a normal storage facility, like you can very consistently make a 6-figure assignment fee each time. And so, Sean, here's the thing that I would look and caution you on, is that the one tricky thing with storage is it is an astronomically small buyer pool. The buyer pool is a lot smaller than single family. There's 1,000,001 buyers, more than 1,000,001 buyers for single family. I mean, heck, InvestorLift alone on Cartel, I think, what is it, like 5-6 million people, 5-6 million quote unquote buyers. But I mean, let's just say there's millions of buyers nationwide who will legitimately perform on an asset. The problem with storage is that it's going to be a fraction of that. And so the tricky thing with wholesaling self-storage facilities, and I haven't met too many people who only focus on that's their only thing is wholesaling storage or wholesaling commercial or wholesaling, these big industrial or multifamily. I don't know a single person personally who that's all they do. They don't do anything else. Like, that is their bread and butter. And my speculation is because by the time it takes for you to contract the deal, negotiate it, lock it up, this, that, and the other, you have locked up such a niche deal in your buyer pool, maybe all of 100 people potentially, and that's it. And I think that's where there is a loss in the large scale wholesale of larger asset class games. I think there's a lot of potential there, but my thought process is, and this could change, I'm saying this right now, so if anyone finds this like a year from now, like, know that my theory on this can change. I'm still young in the storage game. My theory is that you might spend 3, 4, 5 months working on a deal and, associate yourself with $100,000 assignment fee. And then you go through hell and back to find a buyer for it, and they perform on it, and you make your $100,000 assignment fee. But the problem is, in opportunity cost, you could have been running a single family wholesale game and churned out, 40 deals in the meantime and made way more money. So I don't know. My thought process is this, though: if you do want to wholesale self-storage 100%, sell me the deal and I'll buy it. It has to be seller financing, though. That's my key. But what I would do is this: get in my DMs. I can connect you with the mentor who I am working with on storage. And so they're not super big on wholesaling. They keep all their facilities for the most part. And this is the thing: the people who do a lot of storage targeting, they actually aren't wholesalers. They actually do it to buy it. So with, like, in single family, it's really interesting because a lot of people who are buying single family are not marketing to single family. They just work with wholesalers because there's tons of wholesalers out there. In the storage game, a lot of the buyers are doing their own direct to seller marketing or broker outreach. One thing that I have seen, and I'm confidently saying this based off of like the last 100-something deals I've underwritten from a storage perspective, I have not seen a single one from a broker that was on market that was a good deal at all. And so moving forward, for our entire self-storage buy box, we're not even going to look at shit if there's a broker attached to it or it's on market. Like, we don't care. I have enough evidence and enough data in a very short amount of time to be able to be like, yep, With single family, a little bit of a different story. If it's on market, but it has no equity and we know we can apply creative financing to it and get a great rental out of it, great. But on the broker side, on an asset class like storage, if there's a broker on market, I have yet to see a single deal even make half cents. Who's the company that the guy from IG got 85 leads from? Dude, hit me up and I'll connect you with them. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. Do you think it's viable for people to go straight into commercial instead of single family? Yes. Not if you're brand new. Okay. Yes. Theoretically, yes. Practically, it is only viable if you've run sales and you have experience with sales, marketing, and a higher level targeting specifically. So I'll give it to you this way. With single family, let's just look at a data perspective, right? In terms of like, because if you're going to do outreach to self-storage facilities, here's the nuance to that. What software do you use to pull the list? With single family, there's 1,000,001 providers out there because they're all selling the same old resold data. There's tons of them out there selling the same shitty data. And that's why they all cost like 100. Guys, if you're working with a data company and they all cost about like roughly that 99, 97, 100, 120-ish bucks a month, then you can pull 10,000 records minimum from there usually. Like, and they have like, every house address in the country is on their website. Great. They're all buying the data from the exact same portion. They're the exact same companies in the back, and they're reselling old data. There's nothing wrong with that. That's their business model. But here's the key. There is an ample supply of those. The problem for self-storage and a lot of the higher level commercial stuff is there's not many data providers that exclusively target the bigger asset classes. And for a myriad of reasons. Number one is usually because A, there's not a ton of centralized databases they can pull from. And then B, what are they going to do with that data? It is easy to make a ton of money as a software company or a data company when you are pulling 150, 160, all the way up to 200 million property addresses and selling it to 1,000,001 wholesalers for 99 bucks a month. Because why? Because there's 1,000,001 wholesalers every freaking year that enter the industry. The problem with storage is it's a very small group of people. And so there's not a lot of data companies that even work on these lists. And so it's like, yes, can you have a virtual assistant do Google map targeting, and then they can go and find the facilities. They can Google search it, find all the facilities are there, and then go look at Google Maps and then do overhead views to find facilities that obviously look like storage facilities. Yes, you can. It's going to take a lot of time and it's extremely cost effective, but it will take a lot of time. Here's the thing though, we're working with one data company right now for the list itself. And here's the reality, like they have all the lists, all the data, all the phone numbers, script chase, the whole nine. Here's the key though, and this is for storage specifically, and they don't do single family stuff. It is a commercial asset kind of data provider. And it costs 25 grand a year. Like that's the game. And so if you're brand new trying to get into commercial, like, can you actually even pay to play the game properly? Like, I don't doubt your ability to be able to go and, pound the phones and talk to sellers. Cool. The problem is you may be sitting in front of a 25K a year barrier to entry just on the data itself. And then on top of that, my other general concern that I want people, and like, yes, I know I'm on YouTube and I should be telling everyone that, yeah, the sky's the limit, dream big, do all the things, but I'm also very practical and understanding like what it takes to actually win the game. And if you're brand freaking new, the reason why you don't see people doing commercial right off the bat is because like they have all of these barriers to entry financially. And there's also the barrier to entry from a skill set and experience level. Because in order to, like, it is so easy to comp a single family property, but it's not so easy to navigate value add potential. Like on a single family property, it's really easy. It's like, here's your ARV based on a comp. Here's where you're at. You have a rough price per square foot rehab budget. And as long as you play within 10%, 5 to 10% margin basis, you should be fine enough to be able to send a deal out to potential buyers, have them bid on it or give you feedback. And if you need to renegotiate, you can. Easy. Overall, really easy. But on a storage capacity or a commercial capacity, now you have to understand a lot more nuance in terms of each individual, like from storage, each individual unit. in the value add potential there. And then you're running effectively a small business because you're competing with other people. And then you have to understand like more nuanced financial analytics, like things like cash on cash returns. And think about real estate single family wholesalers is they have no idea what the hell a cash on cash return actually is, because it actually doesn't matter, because you're just going off of like Zillow comps and you just have to worry about an MAO and that's it. Like effectively a real estate closer, like a single family closer, all they have to focus on is effectively what their MAO is and getting the seller to say yes to that number. But a storage facility operator or a wholesaler who's targeting those who is going to be selling to one of those operators, they have to worry about cash on cash and like the allocation of a really high level of a really high level of financial investment. And so like we're looking at a facility right now that we just sent an LOI on, a letter of intent on. We're basically talking to the seller. We have their financials. We understand what they want and what they're doing or what they're trying to get. And then, we send them an LOI. Here's the crazy thing. It's like $1.5 million purchase price potentially under a seller finance note. And we're only giving them like $250,000 down at close of escrow. Now that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you factor in closing costs and then rehab, because you're not rehabbing a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, you're freaking refinishing potentially a 50,000 square feet of like metal building. And there's a lot that can go into that in cost. Painting alone can cost a lot of money because you have so much shit to paint. That's like the reality of it. Putting a sign out front of a storage facility is not cheap. It's not like $5,000. You put a big ass sign out front. Like, no, it can cost 30, 40, 50, 60K very quickly. And all of these things cost a lot of money. And so even though it's, $1.5 million purchase on that new LOI that we just sent out, and it's $250,000 down, our entire like upfront closing costs that we have to come to the table with is over $700,000. It was like $720K to like pay the acquisition fee, pay the seller, pay the closing costs, have the money raised for, and it's like all the money that we would have to raise just to even like perform on the asset. It's like over $700,000. And, to have money for the rehab and then the safety net and like operating costs until we can get, the lease ups done. And so there's so much more nuance to it. I just want everyone who's starting and they're like, oh, I want to go play the big game. I want to go and start do multifamily right off the bat or self-storage right off the bat. Power to you. You can easily do a 6-figure assignment fee on every single deal as a minimum. All good. But I don't want you to think it's like, okay, cool, I'm going to be able to comp a storage facility off of like Zillow, because you can't, because they don't have the data. And so I think you can. I think you have to come in with a level of experience. If you're a newbie who's 19, 20, 21, 22, like me when I got started, I graduated grad school. If you're a newbie who has no money, a ton of time, all the energy in the world, but you've got no experience, like that's it, no experience, no skill set, you're just new, like brand new, don't do it. Go do single family. Go learn the reps there, make money there, develop your skill sets, develop your experience. And then once you're established, take those skill sets to a higher asset class. Guys, like I closed over 350 single family properties before I started playing ball at a higher asset class. But if you are coming into, in like, let's define the word newbie. If you're a newbie, but you've done, in other industries, you've dealt with multi-million-dollar assets, whether it's businesses or something else, like then, yeah, you should have no problem doing it. Like in the coaching program that I joined, it's this cool little mastermind, and the people in the room are all people who, not all of them are wholesalers. Like I come from a wholesale background. A lot of the people there have like run like big sales teams, and they've been in other industries, and they've done lending and all these other things. But the key experience with all the key common denominator with all of them is that they all have a high level of experience with something else first. It's like, you just can't be like new to entrepreneurship and then expect to go into self-storage. I just think it's going to be a horrible route to do. I just realized that sounded really negative. Damn. My boss is acquiring self-storage as we speak. Awesome. For single family, the cash conversion cycle 36 months, but what would you say that is in self-storage and multifamily? So the cash, you're right and wrong there. So your cash conversion cycle on single family real estate is going to depend on your marketing channel first and foremost. And so you can have as quick as 3 months. You can actually have as quick as 2.5 months, honestly. We have one micro targeting niche where our cash conversion cycle is, we're probably at around underneath 2 months. And the only reason if it extends is because we have extended escrows. So it has very little to do with your marketing or sales cycle. It has almost everything to do with just escrow proceedings being delayed. And there's really nothing that you can do about that. But you can be as low as 2 months. You can be as long as 9 months. The reality is that, and that's a very big range, right? Like 2.5 months all the way to 9 months on a cash conversion cycle. That's brutally long. But the reality is, if you're 6 months plus out, the fundamental truth of that is all of that, if you do pattern recognition, is all associated with one thing, and that's you having corrupted data. If your data is corrupted and you have horrible crap data, you then will see those extremely long cash conversion cycles. And I'm not talking about like just natural follow-up, because it's like, yes, of course, it's going to be long-term follow-up. But if like you're seeing consistently, if I have to pull a list and do the marketing, it's going to take me 7 months to be able to hit my cash conversion cycle. Guarantee you, it's your data is the number one problem. If you start niching down on the right data pools at the right time from the right sources, you can then like cut that cash conversion cycle in half. Yeah. So, but with storage and multifamily, what is your average cash conversion cycle? I don't know. I don't know that there's even an industry standard, because there isn't a large industry of wholesalers to even pull data from. And the thing is this, guys, when you start, we always talk about industry standards in terms of cash conversion cycles, lead to deal ratios, all this kind of stuff. When you get to the higher asset classes, you will typically deal with a higher level of operator, and the best operators, they don't like to share their data. The guys who are crushing it, if there are dudes who, and I know a few guys, I'm wrong. I know, actually, I can think of one guy who I know for sure is making over $1 million a year. Yeah. He was like an OG cartel boss on Investor Live too. He makes over $1 million a year wholesaling, I think, like apartment complexes. And I think he keeps a few, but he wholesales most of them. I remember seeing his presentation like a long time ago. And the thing is this, though, the problem with those guys is what? They're crushing it. They figured out the game. They're not going to share. And as I've gotten into this storage coaching program, and I have this new mentor in the storage space who's an amazing mentor, and I'm very excited to be able to work with them. The reality is this: every step I keep talking to them, I'm like, dude, this is so much crazier. Like it's just a different ballgame. And I'm like, but then I understand why people don't talk about it, because the guys who are crushing storage and commercial and industrial, they don't want everyone else to know about it, because if they did, they'd run into the same problem that single family runs into, where you have an over surplus of competitors in the marketplace. And that's just no bueno. Like, again, remember, buyers in the single family space usually aren't doing marketing. They're just buying from wholesalers. But the buyers in the commercial and the industrial and in multifamily space, almost all of them are doing their own marketing, whether it's direct to broker or direct to agent or direct to seller. And so that's the interesting thing. When you go to multifamily, most people who have big funds and they own large multifamily assets, they do marketing. They send out direct mail. They cold call. They text, especially the guys who are consistent. Like, and that's what people fail to realize is, so when they're in a smaller pool of opportunity in terms of just the raw number of properties that are out there, and they're all doing direct to seller marketing themselves, their entire livelihoods are predicated on you not knowing about it. And it's a very different kind of feel to that. And so, Alexis, good to see you, Alexis. 100%, it's a huge industry difference. And so the guys who crush it in the storage game, they don't share. They don't share at all. And I've met this dude, Rob Wensley introduced me to him in Puerto Rico, and I can't remember. He owned like 50 million square feet of like storage. It was like some insane number, just huge. He had huge amount of storage facilities. And the funniest thing about him is he had no Instagram, no social media presence. He will never go live. And he probably had a greater level of wealth and equity than probably any single real estate operator I've ever met personally in my life. And I chatted with him about it. I'm like, dude, what the heck? Like, why are you not coaching? Like, why? Like, dude, I would pay you a ton of money for this stuff. And the funniest thing was this. He was like, dude, I don't want to, because like I actually make more money just doing the thing. And if I teach you guys how to do it, then everyone's just going to steal my facilities that I want to buy. And so the thing with the larger asset classes is it's a totally different, it is real estate, but it's like a different world. It's really interesting. Like it is truly like it's a lot less competition, but the competitors that are there are much more competitive, if that makes sense. But yeah, to answer your question overall, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I know it's going to take you a lot longer to to underwrite facilities. I know it's going to take you a lot longer to structure the deals. Like hell, to be honest with you, it's taking us honestly 2 to 3 weeks just to be able to get sellers to send us financials. And half the time we know it's because they're freaking faking the financials and because they don't have them. A lot of the storage facility owners and like multifamily owners, like they're not tracking their rent rates. They're not tracking their increases. They're not tracking their expenses. A lot of times they're just like mom and pop shops who are like, running the facilities out of a freaking notepad. And so when you ask them for financials, the reason why it takes 3 weeks for them to send it over is because they're fabricating half that shit. And so I think it's different, right? With single family, I can comp a property in 30 seconds of just knowing the address. I can know exactly what it's going to cost as long as like I know the property and I know roughly kind of what shape it's in. And then it's very easy. But on storage, it's totally different ballgame. It will take a lot longer. The cash conversion cycles are going to be a lot longer. Just expect that. Considering your past successes and investments in businesses, wouldn't it be pretty easy for you to pull some money together to not have to buy facilities and self-finance? Okay, I love that question. Yes, yeah, I'm pretty freaking filthy at raising private capital or attracting private capital, I should say. I don't raise private capital. Yes, yeah. So here's the thing. One, the problem with all cash deals is more often than not, all cash deals are not good deals. Why do I like seller finance? I even like overpaying on seller finance because here's the thing. When I go and do cash, I'm subject to bank rates. And the problem is I would have to get it at such a steep discount that that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of sellers is when they own a $2 million storage facility and I'm offering them 1.25 million because I need it at a steep enough discount because they want all their cash up front. It is much easier and much more likely for me to actually successfully get the deal if their facility's worth 2 million. What if I just pay them 2.3 or 2.4 or 2.5? I overpay, but it's on seller financing. The rest of the terms are great. As long as I can cash flow and own the facility for as long as I need to make the exit that I want, whether it's a refinance or a sell, or I package it and sell it to like a REIT, then you have a lot more flexibility there. And I think I like seller financing specifically. Like we do tons of sub two, but overall, like you guys know my take on sub two. I love sub two, but overall, I'm at a point now where it's like I don't see a lot of value based on where I'm at in my journey for me to be taking on a lot of no equity, low equity thing with seller finance. You're like, Sam, well, if you owe him $2 million, and you overpaid, let's say property's worth 2 million and I give him 2.5 million on a purchase price on a seller finance note, you're like, Sam, you have no equity there either. You're absolutely right. But here's the thing with self-storage, like your average facility can net cash flow of $15,000 to $20,000 per month, like to your pocket with no actual tenants. And so the really cool thing there though, is on a seller finance note, if it's on 30 on a 30-year note, what can I do every other couple of years? I can go back and renegotiate the loan. Like I'm not going to get into this because there's so much more ninja stuff you can do. And I don't want to talk about it for free on YouTube. I say for free, I'm not going to charge you guys anything either. Just hit me up on Instagram, but there's a lot more ninja stuff you can do with seller financing. And I personally think there is nothing that can compare to seller financing when it comes down to large asset classes. I love cash. We'll do cash too, but seller financing is like the holy grail in my opinion. Best part of commercial storage, apartments, land development. Okay. Great question. Oh man, this is bad. Okay. You guys saw it, like the dude in my DMs today, he, that I screenshot and put on Instagram, he started and then spent 6,500, I think it was 6,500 on a year's worth of service with a lead provider I sent him to. And then he got an $16,000 profit day one, and it was on a land deal. So I personally think if I were to go back and start over, I would personally pursue land before I pursue single family in terms of quick transacting for active income. I think land is as readily available, not maybe as much as single family, but it's like there's still a shit ton of land out there. There's so much of it. And land is so simple. It is easy to understand. It is disgustingly easy to underwrite and comp. And there's a tremendously large buyer pool for it. And so if I was to go back and talk to Sam when he first got started, I would actually say don't wholesale single family. I would say go wholesale land instead, and then worry about single family later. But when it comes down to Lexus's question, best part of commercial, I've looked at everything. And guys, I am now at 100 and let me double check. I think I'm at 184, but let me double check. I have it in my notes somewhere. Okay. I'm at $184,000 in spend. $184,000 in spend on mentorships, mastermind, and one-on-one CEO coaching. And so I've been in land masterminds. I've paid a ton of money to be in rooms with billionaires for in the multifamily space. And now I'm in storage, and I can confidently tell you, and this is I will confidently tell you my opinion. So don't be like, well, Samsung said it, so it's like true. It's just my personal take on it. And I personally, no one can tell me anything that can refute the evidence that I have, because I just don't see anything better. I think that nothing from a real estate asset class perspective, especially in commercial, touches storage. I don't think anything does. I like development. I think development is such an advanced game to play. It also an extremely long time. One of my good friends locally here, his name's Jason Pritchard. He got this huge deal. It's like a $26 million profit deal, but it's going to take him like 5 years to close on it. And like, don't be wrong, like 5 years for 26 million, like hell yeah, do it all day. But that deal was also like, I don't know if I feel like it's a unicorn deal. I'm not sure, but storage, it's like the thing with development is tricky because you have to go find the land, then you're going to have like a year of processing to work with that. And then you're going to have permitting for a year, and then you're going to have development for a year, and then you have to stabilize the asset class. That might take a year or two. And there's so much that goes into it. I think there's a lot there. It's an extremely small, pool of potential operators to play with. Also, the amount of money that goes into that is a tremendously high level amount of money. So I think that's probably like the highest and best. I'm sure it is because the numbers are so wild, and pretty much every billionaire in real estate plays in development only. But for the intermediate or advanced player, right? And if you're a developer, you're not advanced, you're like ultra advanced. So if you're intermediate and advanced, it is based in Samsung 2025 right now, it is my stance that nothing touches storage. Yeah. Mm, I don't know that there's a single best performing list. So I would say this. I think foreclosures, you'll get more contracts with foreclosures because of the hard timeline. So you will get you should almost always have the highest contract rate with foreclosures, but you'll also have a subsequent high fallout rate with foreclosures. Why like probates? Probates will take longer. You'll have a lower contract rate, but you'll have a much higher success rate overall with probates, and you will have a higher net profit in the end, because you're going to deal with a lot more cash deals on the probate side. These are good questions. These are really good questions. So whenever people start coaching about the subject, they can mean they cannot make as much money there anymore. It's tough, man. It's tough. All I'll say is this. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of viable coaches in the real estate space, but I would say the one commonality that I have found I think 90% of the coaching industry is just people who are completely full of crap. Like personally, that's just how I see it and how I feel about them. And because a lot of them I know, and I can know the back end of their businesses, and they're not performing, and their entire job is to be in front of a camera. There's nothing wrong with that. But like doing the thing that they're coaching on is actually not their business. Education's their business. And that is what it is, and it's fine. But the one commonality that I've seen with a lot of the best people who actually you should learn from in real estate space, coaching isn't about making the money for them. It's just a dedicated deal funnel. Like that's it. If you look at some of the best coaches, like I look at Pace Morby, and Pace Morby is the best community builder the real estate industry has ever seen. Like by far, no one can touch what he's done in the world of community building. And he didn't build his community in his mentorship or his overall mentorship because he needed the money. He built it to be a ginormous deal funnel. And like he is helping so many people, and it's all the best things. But the reality in terms of like financially, he just does more deals than anybody. And there's a reason why in a very short amount of time, I think like his mentorship sub-2 hit like 4 or 5 years recently. I don't think I've seen anyone else buy as many single family properties or as much real estate as that man has with creative financing in that short amount of a time. And it's not because he had all the marketing on the back end. No, he just trained people to go and be deal finders, and he bought the deals. Okay, great. I love this. So storage, here's what I like about storage. It's simple. There's not a million like different types of the problem with single family is that you're going to have a lot of discretionary value add. And the discretionary value add is like, cool, what do we have to do based on the comps to be able to, like, what fit and finish in terms of the quality of the rehab, the kitchen look, the tile choice, the cabinet choice, this, that, and the other. And like more or less it's pretty easy, right? It's pretty apples to apples. And and that's why you have people who have cookie cutter flips. If you guys have seen the last like 2-3 years, every flip effectively in the median price point looks the same. It's like the same like kind of gray white walls with the same kind of lighter LVP flooring, and it all looks very cookie cutter, and that's okay. Storage is that, but like 10 times simpler. It literally is the value add like methods that you would use. Number one is, are the market is the rates are the rental rates underneath market rate? Like that's it. Can you just increase rate for a 10 by 10 unit, right? A 10 foot by 10 foot box. Are they charging $85? If they're charging $85, cool. What's the facility across the street charging for that same size? 115, and they're sold out. What does that tell us? That the market rate for that size box is about 115 bucks. That is a value add potential. And then the tricky things I mentioned earlier, when you have 300 units, you pretty much have to look at the entire unit mixes, see what they're renting for, see which ones are vacant, this, that, and the other, and see how much you can boost rent. So number one is boosting rent. Number two is going to be, this is not a proper order, but whatever, I'm just listing them. Number two is going to be the addition of new storage units. So you can add on and develop more. Now you have a cost of building them. You need to have the land associated with it. The land has to also, that extra land, let's say if you have an extra acre on the sale when you buy the facility, is that extra acre zoned properly for you to build on top of it, build more storage units on top of it. So that's another one. Another value add potential, like very simply, guys, it's like painting the thing. Like a lot of people don't realize that it's a business, and externally when people drive by the facility, does your business look like crap or does it look nice? And so, spending 20, 30, 40, 50 grand on, just a lipstick paint job with a new sign out front can make the big difference in terms of like the actual, like, do you get people through the door? And so remember, the value add doesn't correlate to the property being worth more. The value add you do actually contributes to one thing, and that's people paying you more money for rent. And so if your facility looks like crap, it's going to be hard for you to justify market rent. But if your facility looks brand new and shiny and clean, it makes it really easy for you to charge market rent for people and get them to the door, and you have them on a lease. And the value of your facility is based on how many people do you have on a lease, providing you how much money month over month over month over month. It's all NOI based. It's net operating income. And so there's, that security is a big one. Security is a huge one. A lot of these facilities, they don't have a gate. They don't have cameras. People want to be able to, and this is a good, kind of method for this, or thought process, is your facilities are going to be in areas where, you want to have somewhere that's near the suburbs. And so because people in the suburbs tend to have disposable income, which also means they're going to have a lot of extra stuff, and they're going to want to put that stuff somewhere. You want your facility to have security cameras and adequate lighting. So lighting can be another thing. And then be properly paved. Like, no one wants to go to a storage facility where it's all dirt. Like, it just doesn't feel nice. It doesn't feel clean. And would I pay top dollar for it? No. But would I pay top dollar if I'm like, let's say pretend I'm an older woman who lives in the suburbs and I have all these extra things that I have extra money I'm just spending. I want to have a storage facility where it's clean, has a nice paved road or gravel road or something to that effect, so I'm not walking on dirt, has a gate out front, proper camera, proper lighting. So if I have to go in the evening to drop off my stuff, I don't feel unsafe doing that. And so a lot of these storage facilities, we actually look at like lighting, cameras, security. Is your gate automated? Do you even have a gate? If not, what's going to stop from someone showing up and just breaking in, cutting the padlock on the door and stealing someone's stuff? And that stuff will happen if you're not equipped to combat it. There's really not much more, to be honest with you. And then, on marketing. So it's a business. So it's like, are the other facilities nearby, are they marketing online? Like, do they have an online presence? Do they even have a website? Are they running ads? And so it's like a value add potential for you is if you get a self-storage facility and it's all under market rent, it's a mom and pop shop, they've never run ads because they can never figure out Facebook, and it just wasn't an issue for them. Cool. Value add potential for you is raising market rents and then running ads to find new people to cycle them out. So yeah. Edward Shamirian, dude, miss you, bro. I hope you're well. Edward Shamirian's crushing it in multifamily. Good old dude, old friend of mine, known him for years now. Yeah, love Edward. Great guy. What marketing tactics did you use to gain interest for when Matt Percaro came on? I have no idea what you're talking about. I need you to rephrase that question. But Matt Percaro last week, phenomenal guest. Love that guy. Yep, Loveland. Alexis, yeah, mobile home parks, RV. I think here's my thing. Nothing against those two asset classes, especially RV parks. I think RV parks are like, it's such a goddamn millennial thing. I think if you look at all of them, do they have a lot of potential to make a lot of money? Yeah, they do. They 100% do. Don't get me wrong. But if I compare that asset class, if I compare mobile home parks to large land acquisition and flipping or holding or whatever, subdividing, whatever you want to do, rent out to a solar farm, whatever. RV parks, mobile home parks. And there's a difference, guys, between an RV park and a mobile home park. Different ball game, different avatar, different income levels, the whole nine. Land development or land flipping, and then like self-storage. If I just look at in like multifamily, I don't care what anybody says. Self-storage all day. All day. For me personally, that's just me personally. I think people like RV parks because there's a lot more moving parts to them. But I think it's such a millennial thing because I don't like RV parks are so interesting to me. I think they're just fun and people like fun stuff, but I think they're a lot less predictable. I think I see the appeal, but I think the appeal is like based off of a lot of social media stuff. I think storage facilities like have a hard scale, like the hard coded predictability to them. And for you as an investor, to me, it's a no brainer. Okay, are the operation security access software like portals for renters the best places to look at? If you're looking at for value add, yeah. So market rent's always going to be the first one. That's why you want to pull financials, is understanding, are they under market rent? Are they over market rent? Are they like, have they even been raising rents? So a lot of the people, especially the mom and pop shops, what they'll do is they'll just have good renters and they'll never raise the rent on them. And that's fine. But when you come, and that's fine for them because they a lot of times own it free and clear. So it's not hurting them. It's all net profit anyways, for the most part. But for you to come in and have new financing come in, you need to be able to get the most out of it because you're actually trying to hit a cash on cash return. And so you need to be able to have the flexibility to do that. And so I think yes, you can look at security, you can look at access, you can look at, see if they have an online presence at all. There's a lot of other tools that you can use. Not a lot, there's a few really good ones. But that's what I like about storage. It's a simplistic game with storage. It's like, what's our rent rules? What's our T12? Do they have storage or do they have security? Or does the facility look like shit? Does it not? It's like, it's pretty simple. And then you just shop around and look at, what everyone else in the area who has a competing facility, what are they charging for the exact same units? Do they have security? Do they have a gate? If they do, and they're charging 115, we're charging 85, but we have no security, no gate, and our facility looks like it's 40 years old. Great. We can't just charge more money and expect people to show up, because people will shop. And one thing I like about storage is, compared to every other real estate asset class, I think it's the most like a traditional small business. To me, a storage facility, in the way you approach it, it's not very different than like looking at a laundromat and looking at the rates laundromats charge versus the laundromat across the street. Like, people don't get emotional about storage, and that makes it predictable. And if it's predictable, it's scalable. And that's what I like personally. But like mobile home parks or RV parks, oh my God, that's like, to me, that's like millennial freaking emotions off hinge. What is your preferred financing? You mean in terms of just like acquisition strategy? I go seller financing all day. Seller financing, I literally only, I love creative financing as a whole, but seller financing all day. I'll pay you. We'll offer them a range at their asking or even higher than they're asking, but it just depends. Like, the terms that you have to play with are going to be your down payment, your amortization schedule, your monthly payments. The cool thing with storage is that with these larger asset classes, especially self-storage, when you deal with mom and pop shops, they're all like in their, I think out of 40 to 50% of the owners that our company has talked to over the last 4 or 5 weeks, almost all of the owners are above the age of 70 to 75. And the cool thing with that demographic is that that pool of people, seller financing is second nature to them. They've been doing seller financing their whole life. And so they very often hate the banks just as much as you do, as an investor. And so they're on your side with that. And you can become as creative as possible, as creative as you can possibly be, with structuring deals. And so I like seller financing all day for larger asset classes. Okay, great question. So, what broke your glass ceiling to dive into something beyond wholesale real estate or pivot to something different? Okay, great question. One, I'm a dipshit, so don't wait as long as I did to learn the lesson. So, it took me three, and I think we're coming up on like 3.25 years, and we've done. Oh crap! Give me one sec. All these people on Instagram, that's crazy. All these people on Instagram, and I'm like, guys, click the link. If you're on Instagram and you see us live, like, click the link in the bio, come to YouTube. Like, we can't see your comments on Instagram. I think the biggest thing for me was, so it took me 3.25 years to do over, I don't know what number we're at right now. I think we're closing in on 400. We've closed over 350 deals. I found that out. My TC let me know that a few months back. And so we're closing in, I think, somewhere near 400 deals. And that's the most of that's going to be wholesale single family real estate, not really including like lending and transactional stuff that I've done there, and like the rentals that I own. My thing is this is, a lot of people would say that's a lot of deals in 3 years, in your first 3 years of doing the business. And I would agree. I think it is an outlier, but I also think this, I was ready to play bigger games before I realized I was ready to play bigger games. And it wasn't until Pace Morby pulled me to the side and was like, dude, you need to start thinking bigger, and you need to start thinking way bigger. I was always like, I kind of ran away from my own success. And a good friend of mine, Don, sent me a book called 10X is Better Than 2X. And the whole premise behind that book is that, and he combated this with me. And I think Marlon actually had him on the podcast when I was out sick once. And the premise behind that book is, I would always give myself a lot of shit because I'm like, okay, I've had a lot of success in 3 years, but I didn't claim it and I didn't own it because I'm like, it's an outlier, it's a fluke, I'm lucky, this, that, and the other. And I kind of ran away from the success a little bit. And Don called me out on it, and very aggressively one day. And he was like, dude, you need to like shut the F up because you've crushed it, and you need to stop like pretending you're not ready for the next thing. And then he sent me that book. And the whole point of that was, your time in the industry doesn't dictate when you're ready for the next step. Your experience level does. And so for me, I think I should have started playing bigger games and asset classes, and I should have started acquiring bigger assets maybe a little bit sooner. That being said, we still wholesale. So we still do single family. Why? Because it's automated. And so if you guys know anything about me, my whole thing is this, is if the business needs to be automatable. And if it's not, like, guys, I haven't talked to a single family seller in 2 years now. I haven't talked to a single family homeowner. Like, listen to that. I have not talked to a single family homeowner in over 2 years. And we still crush deals. Day over day over day over day, we're closing deals. And the reality behind that is because we understand how to structure business to print money while you sleep. And there's so much that goes into that. Today's discussion is not going to be about that, but that is what scaling a business actually ultimately leads to. And so that's still on. We haven't turned that off. So I haven't like pivoted away from it. It's still there. I'm just not going to talk about it because I'm bored of that. Like, to be very real with you guys, like if I hit my 400 deal, like, it's not going to excite me anymore. When I hit the 500 deal, it's not going to excite me. When I do 600, or even I hit my 1,000th single family deal, I'm not going to be excited about it because personally, and this is me speaking for me, it's like, yes, that is a blessing. Yes, that is a privilege. But I also understand that, like, I feel like I've conquered that mountain, and I want to go chase things that correlate to growth, and chasing a bigger asset class that has bigger problems associated with it and bigger payouts associated with it. I think it's time for me to climb a different mountain. Like, that mountain is still there though, by the way. Like, wholesale is still there. We still do it. We still do single family. I'm just not going to buy single family. We'll still transact them. But for the next year, at least, I'm not buying anything smaller than commercial. Mhm. Some of the best lists ever. Some of the best lists ever. Highest contract rate, potentially highest fallout rate. You have to be a specialist if you want to make the most out of it. You need to know creative financing, and you need to understand the timeline of foreclosure. And most importantly, if you don't get the data from the right spot, it's worthless. Don't do it. So make sure your data provider is the right one, because I literally presented on this specific topic with foreclosures today in a private mentorship. Not mine. I don't have a mentorship, so don't ask me to coach you. But I was a guest speaker in one earlier today, and that's basically what we talked about. Oh, awesome. Hey Sam, thanks for providing top advice as always. Where did you learn about how to be a ninja at attracting private money? Great question, dude. Funny enough, oh my God, I posted this on Facebook a while back and it blew up. It was awesome. Doing this stuff, so I don't think I've ever publicly asked for money ever. I don't think I can. I don't think I have. And the reason why is because number one, pace when I first got started. So for those of you guys that don't know, I've done all not all of them, but a lot of mentorships, a lot of masterminds, but Sub 2 was my first one with Pace. It was the first like mentorship I really joined. And he told me that you don't raise private capital, you attract it, and how you attract it is by showcasing you do the thing. And so the thing is, I do these things a lot, like podcasting, and I do trainings. And if you come to my master classes, I just have a tendency to like go do the business, crush it in business, and then just share it freely. And I don't charge, and I don't try to upsell you, and I don't try to push you somewhere so I can monetize on you. And I just did that for years. For like my first year and a half, I just consistently kept doing that. And I kept sharing and doing deals with people and doing all the things. And I think what ended up happening is that I built so much goodwill in my audience and the people who like are in my ecosystem, and everyone, they associated Sam Singh with positivity because like he gave freely, or he did deals with you, or he helped you, or whatever. And so when the time came and I was like, yeah, I'm going to start buying properties, it was really kind of interesting. I did my first time doing a private capital raise at all was actually on the back end of a signature masterclass called Get Plugged In. And I haven't talked about this publicly, so it's going to be fun kind of shedding light on this. And all I did on Get Plugged In was I did an entire 4-hour intensive signature masterclass, 4 or 5 hours actually, teaching newbies how to basically skip the learning curve by getting onto established teams just like I did. And I did that for 5.5 hours. And what it really was a breakdown of all the avatars. Like if you're young and hungry and you have no money, great, go join a wholesale team. If you're older and you've got, 50, 60, 100,000, 250,000 in your bank account, like you should either be buying properties or lending the money, right? And eventually, inevitably, at the end of that masterclass, what ended up happening is I brought in a lot of my friends who were other seasoned operators who had established teams. And I said, Marlon was actually there. Marlon was there. Daryl was there. A lot of other people were there. And I basically said, hey, Marlon, in your wholesale business or your real estate business, who do you need? And he had a need for like, a closer or a dispo agent or something like that. And I said, great. After the 5 hours of showing people how to self-diagnose themselves and understand what their avatar is, I said like, hey, who's a dispo agent? Everyone raised their hand. Who's a dispo guy? Great. Marlon is someone I can vouch for. I know his business. He's crushing it. And he has a need for a dispo agent. And I just basically just played matchmaker with them. And I did that for a lot of my friends. And the really cool thing is I have so many people to this day who were on that first call, and they like still like, they'll come out to me and they'll reach out. And Hamza was one person who did this recently. And he got his start on a team and got his like first handful of deals because of the person I connected with him on that call. And so inevitably, that's how this relates to private capital. Inevitably, the crowd kept asking Sam, how do we work with you? Because they wanted, like, I gave away so freely, they wanted to be a part of my team. And I said, guys, like, I don't have a need for lead managers. I don't have a need for closes. I don't have a need for any of these things, but I am starting to buy a lot of properties. If you are a lender and you want to have a chat about coming in as a financing partner, like, just shoot me a DM and or shoot me a text, and that's it. And it was a 5.5 hour presentation. By the way, my entire intention behind the call, like I'll be very real with you here. On every signature masterclass I do, and even on that one, I knew exactly what I wanted to receive from it. And what I wanted to receive from that one was private money. 5.5 hour call. That was my pitch. 10 seconds of I don't have a need for this, that, and the other, but I am starting to buy properties. And if you guys like want to work with me and you have a lot of money sitting on your potential lender, yeah, sure. Here's my phone number. Shoot me a text. We can connect. We'll see if it's a good fit. It was probably even less or more nonchalant than that. And then within, and I'm not joking, within 72 hours of that call, it was like 36 to 72 hours, we had 1.17 million in private capital raised. And then I just started buying property like the next week. It was great. And so, and the cool thing is this, as you do podcasts and as you do marketing secrets, not marketing, signature masterclasses, marketing secrets is one of them, you will continue to build that goodwill. And then if you guys were following me for the last year and a half, this past 2024, I stopped speaking on stages a lot, but the year before that, I did 32 stage events in 12 months. And so I was flying across the country, speaking on stages to small groups of people, medium groups of people, large groups of people. And what ended up happening is when you speak on stage, there's something that happens to the perceived authority that you have, because there's going to be all these people at these meetups and these events who have a ton of money, and they just want to have someone they can trust to give that money to. And when you're the authority with a microphone speaking on stage to this group of 200 people, and if you can, give them value, truly, they will throw their money at you. So I've talked about this before. It's like, if you want to raise or attract private capital, give more on social media, give more with masterclasses or webinars or whatever you want to do, give more on YouTube, give more on when you're speaking on stage. Getting on stage is the biggest cheat code for attracting private capital, in my opinion. Probably every other time I've spoken on stage, and I do like the meet and greet after, where people like want to meet the speaker and like, get photos and things like that. Almost every single other time I've walked away with probably at least a few six figures in private capital, just like in terms of new leads of private capital, every single time. And I've never asked for it. They'll just be like, yeah, this is what I have. Like, I've got 150K. I'm a dentist. I'm a doctor. I've got a retirement fund. How can I work with you? It's super easy. Bro, you need to like not say that publicly, because like, this is why I have to be careful. So I actually have to be careful with how I do these things. But yeah, I spend 184 grand. So you don't have to spend 184 grand. I appreciate you guys. Right now, if you are listening to this, great question. Remember how I told you guys we're going to spend 25 grand a year on self-storage data? I'm definitely going to need someone to cold call that data. And so we're going to need someone to be cold calling that data and doing outreach to that data. And that person is going to basically be generating leads, having initial discussions with sellers, getting financials over to us and to my team, and we will handle like the structuring, this, that, and the other. And so we're going to need a cold caller. And it has to be an American, because you do not put an overseas virtual assistant on the phone with someone who owns multi-million-dollar assets. It just does not work very well. And so if you are interested in getting into self-storage and want to learn that game to a degree, and you want to work with my team directly, slide into the DMs on Instagram, because I think I'm going to get that launched in the next week or two. If I ever start a mastermind, yeah, dude, I'll pay you 50 grand to then like find out that it sucks. Not you, but like, that's really the thing. Like, I'll join these things where I drop, 20, 30, 40, 50K, walk away with like one takeaway. And I'm like, that sucked. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to do it better and just give it away for free on Signature Masterclass. I think we're caught up on questions. Yeah. Yeah, we're caught up on questions. Okay, guys, that is it. We are over time. We're 14 minutes over time. I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys had a good time with this Q&A, and I hope you guys learned something. I don't know. But if you guys did, let me know. Slide into my DMs on Instagram. Let me know if you guys like the Q&A and you guys want more Q&A. I personally like them because I like to be able to like give value that is tangible and specific to your businesses and your situations. And we have a range of guest speakers coming in. So just so you guys know, I am going to be bringing in my self-storage coach, my mentor, who's helping me with that. And this is a person who is basically helping like us navigate all of it at a really high level. They own tons of facilities. They own tons, and I don't even know how many millions and millions and millions of dollars of real estate they own in just storage alone. We're going to be bringing them as a guest speaker on to Think Big. We're going to be bringing on a few other key guest speakers soon too. Marlon and I are going to be redoing some of our favorites. So Lead Gen Mastery, we're going to be completely redoing. We just did sales. We may redo that one down the road. We're going to redo some stuff on lending. We're going to redo a lot of the epic stuff. But what I want to do is I want to include more Q&A stuff, just because I have a great time doing this. And you guys know that, like, I don't do coaching and I will not do coaching. And I prefer this model a little bit more. So if you had a good time today, let me know on Instagram. I appreciate you guys. Oh yeah, and all the things, right? Like, subscribe, share, do all that kind of stuff. Guys, I appreciate you. I will see you guys next week for episode 121. Oh, last thing, shoot Marlon a DM. He's sick. Shoot him a DM and tell him we loved him and we missed him. All right, peace, guys.